Welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to wire wrap this beautiful blue bicone bead using 20 gauge copper wire and 26 gauge wire to make a herringbone pattern around the bead. I'm using 6mm or larger beads so that the 20 gauge wire will fit right through the bead hole. These are all drilled beads. I'm going to cut about, I don't need a lot, so I'm going to cut about 8 inches of wire. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is cut a piece of the 26 gauge. I usually get about a foot, so I make sure I have enough. So about a foot is a good length. Okay, we're going to start our wire wrap. First, we want to straighten our wire. So take your fingers, if you don't have a nylon plier, take your finger and smooth it. I just kind of bend, curve back and forth, and it smooths the wire out nicely. We want to make sure that our bead will fit onto the wire once we get started here. I'm going to find the approximate center, and I'm going to take this wire, 26 gauge, and I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to start a little tail. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to wrap it around twice. And we're going to squish those together. You can use your pliers to squish that together. I'm going to hold that to the side, and I'm going to place my bead onto my wire like that. Okay. Now this little tail we left right here, I'm going to hold that down against the 20 gauge wire, which is our ring band wire, or our base wire. And I'm going to also balance the bead on my finger, so I've got everything still. I'm going to come around to the other side. I'm going to wrap over one time. I'm going to bring it around to the other side. I'm going to turn my work, holding my bead with my finger. Sometimes I hold it between both fingers, and bring my wire around the bead to the other side. Kind of push that tail out of the way and wrap it around the end and bring it over to the other side. Turn. Now at this point, I can cut this little wire to get it out of my way, but I'm just going to push it up out of my way for this time being, and then we'll cut it at the end. So now I'm going to hold my wire and my bead, and I'm going to come around just below the other copper wire, or right next to it, and go over the wire, come around to the top, and then bring it around to the side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring the wire just underneath the other wire, and we're going to wrap it around the main wire, the base wire, bring it around. We want to kind of keep our wires snug, but not too tight. All these little wraps right here. We don't want them too far apart. We want them right next to each other. And I'm going to turn it again. I'm going to bring this wire down below the other wires, and then we're going to bring it around the top and around the wire like that. And then we're going to bring it over to the side. So now it's starting to look like this. Okay. I can take my fingers and kind of squish my wires down slightly, but you want to be careful not to disturb the wraps around the stone. I'm turning my wire, and we're going to hold the bead again, and this wire is going to come down underneath the other two wires, just right next to them, and then I'm going to wrap it around the main wire and bring it around. So now I've got 3 on this side, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn it, and I have 3 on this side, so I can stop here if I want. So I'm going to stop. I think 3 is plenty. Makes a nice pattern, and I'm going to just bring it around one more time and stop at the top like this. Sorry, there we go. I'm going to snip it. That might actually be too long. Let's snip it a little shorter. There we go. I'm going to go a little bit shorter. Want it really close on this one. There. Why isn't it cutting it? There we go. Sorry, I need to bring my clippers to this side. There we go. I got it a little bit shorter. I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to go around it and turn. Either turn your work or turn your pliers and gently squeeze to get the wire to go around the base wire so we don't have any scratches. Okay. Gently holding onto your bead and not letting the design get deformed. We don't want it to move. Here we go. Okay, so there's our design. Now we'll take our ring mandrel and set the bead in that little divot. Put your finger on it, turn, and whatever size you want the ring to be, you want to go a little larger. So let's say I want to do an 8. I'm going to do an 8.5 or 8 1/4 right there. You need to go a little bit larger because the stone is actually sitting in the divot and it's going to take up space on your finger when it's done. So you want to go a little bit larger, hold it there, and make sure these wires come up nice and tight. One on one side, and you're going to bring it over, and the one on the other side, bring it over. Okay, so what we're going to do is these wires, these 2 base wires right here, are going to go under the design, and then we're going to wrap them here. So we need to hold our ring in place so we don't lose our size. So let's take that out and we'll test our size when we're done. So I'm going to carefully hold my band wires, and I'm going to take this and bring it down underneath like that. So it's under the other wires. And I'm going to carefully push it around the other wires on the other side like that to kind of hold it in place. And then I'm going to turn, do the same thing on this side, bring that wire under the other wires and then wrap it around the other side. See? There we go. Now I'm going to bring them through the loop. So I'm going to bring them up and under through the band and at least get them to sit on the wire like this. So I'm bringing them around, bring the wire around like that. Okay, not too tight. We don't want our bands to crisscross, but I just want to set it there. Then turn it to this side, and I want to I'm going to hold my bead carefully so I don't mess up the herringbone weave. I'm going to bring this wire around as well. Oops, sorry. There we go. So now we've got this wire here and this wire here. This is a size 8. So let's test it on the ring mandrel. This time I'm not going to put the bead in the divot, in the ditch. I'm going to carefully bring it up to an 8. So what I want to do is I want to cut this wire at the bottom because I didn't cut that. So let's cut that off carefully. Okay, and then I want to take my pliers right at the edge of the herringbone, and I'm going to gently turn it so it kind of rounds it a little bit like that. Okay, because the stone is sticking out down there and I want to make sure it doesn't get destroyed. So we're trying to curve the herringbone slightly. As you do this, some wires may come undone or loosen up. So we just check on everything. A little bit curved like this. Let's see, I'm going to first try it on the side with the divot. So it's an 8 right there, it's an 8. Let me uncross the bands. So the bands have gotten crossed. So I'm going to go up like this and I'm going to go around and make sure the bands don't cross. Okay. That little wire needs to be tucked up underneath there. I don't know if you can see it. It's hanging out. I need to get it to lay down inside so it doesn't scratch the finger. Okay, so let's see if we can get this on our ring mandrel to an 8. There we go. So it looks like we succeeded. There we go. Size 8. So I'm going to finish it up. I'm going to cut the wire, straighten up this end right here, cut it pretty low, and I'm going to take my pliers, well, I can do it this way, and I'm going to carefully tap that down. See how it's tapping down? Just so gently. There you go. And I can file that, like I said. I can always file the tip. There we go. Now I'm going to go to the other side. It was just almost short enough, but I'm going to straighten it up. I'm trying to tighten it up a little bit around the ring base, okay? And I'm going to cut that shorter. There we go. Then I'm going to take my fingers and hold the ring, and I'm going to get around that wire, and I'm going to tap it slowly as I turn my pliers slowly. Here we go. And there we go. There's your ring with the herringbone we wrap around the stone. And then you have these two wires that are coming around that add a little dimension and kind of, you know, encase it. And there's your ring, size 8. So every ring is a little different when you make it, depending on how much wrapping you're going to do around the band, like here, is going to take away from the size. It's going to make the ring smaller. So we just have to check, always check as you go to make sure your ring is still the right size. And I always recommend when you're doing rings like this, that if you're doing a size 8, start at like size 8 1/4 or 8 1/2. You can always adjust a little bit as you work. So, and especially rings like this that have a bead that's dipping down, you need to go to at least a 1/2 inch higher, because that bead is going to take up space. Whereas the bead, the ring I made in my last video, it's really not hanging down as much, so it doesn't take up as much space below, so it doesn't take up as much space on the ring. Okay, so this is our herringbone ring. These are 2 methods of rings to make that I've done in my videos. I'm going to do a 3rd video for ring number 3. Please check that out as well. Thank you.